Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for kickoffs and kick-ons.
Yes, hello and welcome to, it's more content. People want more content, Drew.
It's KOKO Special.
It is a KOKO Special. Drops on a Friday for your, if you're in Australia, you go for your staffies after on a Friday, then you settle in at home and just before you watch your superb rugby, you can watch a little bit of extra content with myself and the Biv.
Yep.
So the segment we've come up with today, it's called Prof's Pick and Let's Fucking Go.
Okay.
And it's basically, I'm going to ask you played a lot of rugby union, and I'm going to ask you some questions to do with your teammates.
Okay, sure.
And what went on. 71 tests for the Wallabies. Mm-hmm. A colourful career, to say the least. Let's start with, obviously, we know that your two closest mates in the world are on this podcast with you, Adam Ashley Cooper and Matt Giddo. Outside of that, if you had to pick a couple of guys that you absolutely loved playing with, who would that be?
Oof. I mean, it's a tough one. And I'm sure that each time I get asked this, I'll probably give someone different. But that probably just speaks to the amount of players I got to play with that were just elite. One springs to mind is Georgie Smith. I just think that the way he went about his game, I don't know, he was just someone you wanted on your team. I think when you're sitting in the dressing room before the game and you look across or in the huddle and he was in the team, you just you felt better about your team's chances going forward. There's a few people like that. I think David Pocock was another special player. And then, in the backs, Stephen Larkham had all the time in the world on the ball. Like he did the way he sort of directed us, but also when he was going to the line, his depth adjustments were just amazing. Gave you plenty of opportunities. But I mean, geez, Johnny was great.
Johnny Wilkinson.
I know I'm just throwing a lot of names out here, but I mean, they were just special players that I played with throughout the course of my career. And I think Nathan Sharp was another great one that I went over to the Western Force in the early stages, got to play a lot with him at super level. And then again, in the international scene, he was someone that just ran the line out. Bullet, he just was he was just a good teammate as well. There's a few for you. I could probably go on.
So let's go from there to the player that you learnt the most from, that you learnt your art from.
I probably will say Chris Latham. And it was a bit of a unique situation because Latho was a guy that when I was going through school that I'd looked up to. He was a left-footed fullback for Queensland. I was playing left-foot fullback in the Queensland school system. And then it was sort of just a weird sort of turn of events that I was all of a sudden then playing alongside him. And you can learn a lot off a player through many different ways. I started to mirror Chris Latham's prep because I didn't really know how to prepare for a professional game. I came straight from school, had a little bit of time in first grade at UQ and got my chance. I didn't really know how to put myself in the position on game day to go out there and perform. So I'd start to mirror what Latho would do. And then I kind of quickly learnt that that's not how I prepared. Like we're just different people. And then I was rooming a lot with Wendell Saylor, and I also quickly learnt that his prep isn't for me either. All the steak sandwiches, hot chips and cans of Coke on game day, losing all my money at the TAB before the game, and I'd go in and have a stinker. But, I mean, Latho, I think, he's left-footed taught, the way he just had this incredible strength in contact. And whilst when I first started, I was on the lighter side, I wasn't very strong. I sort of started to fill out throughout the course of my career, and strength kind of then became one of my things. Not strength in a gym sense, but just in contact. Because as I got bigger, I probably didn't have as much top end speed. So you have to find a point of difference. And mine then became sort of that. I don't know. People may disagree. I don't know, but that strength in contact, sort of through the hips, the bumping and the breaking the tackle, and I, from watching Latho go into contact, and I mean he could just there's a try I think for the Reds. I think it's in the left-hand corner. I'm almost like I'm front row, like I'm carrying on, like a little schoolboy, just watching him carry. I think it might have been against the Highlanders. I'm not sure, but he took 3 or 4 blokes over on his back. Like those types of little moments, like really sort of resonated with me, and just like okay, because when I first started, I was like a big part of the negative in my game was my strength in contact. So then that became a real focus for me. Like I remember even 2006, 2006, 07, 08 rugby games on the PlayStation and stuff. Like I used to be so quick in those games, but as soon as I got tackled, turnover. Right?
Sorry, as in the character that was Drew Mitchell. So they typed in that
he's not strong in contact, right? So I was kind of known for it early on.
Yeah.
I mean, we've spoken about the early nickname of Apples from George Gregan because I'd turn the ball over because I just, I was 80 kilos, I couldn't bench 60. Like I was small, but I then sort of started to fill out. So sometimes, like that being a weakness of mine, I then tried to focus on that for it to become a strength, and someone that kind of inspired that was Chris Latham in the way that he was so strong in contact.
Does he know that you consider him the person that you?
I mean, I've spoken about it openly a lot. I don't know how much sort of podcasts and interviews and things that Latho.
What's he doing now?
He does some coaching. He was up at Utah for a long time. I'm not too sure where he is exactly at the moment, but I think he's been in and around the Queensland setup every now and then as well. But he's sort of in the coaching game.
All right, who's the player you learnt the most from? Let's go coach. Who was your mentor as a coach?
Well, I mean, I think just happened again today. Another coach getting moved on, Darren Coleman. But one thing in Rugby Australia is you don't have a long-term coach. And also, I mean, I moved around a lot too as well, to be fair. I think I had 3 or 4 head coaches at the Reds in my 4 years.
Yeah, wow.
I had Johnny Mitchell over in Perth, Foles, Hickey, Czech at the Waratahs. I had about 5 at Toulon as well. There was a lot of turnover at Toulon. But I think, you learn a lot from coaches, but I think you also, the times of your career, you learn different things as well. And also perhaps times in your career you're more open to learning. And I just remember that there's one time in particular, Czech and I kind of had a bit of a run-in when I was at the Waratahs. He came in, I was getting my ankle strap, getting ready for training, and he kind of came in to let me know. And in a rugby sort of professional setup, it might be the same elsewhere, but the physio room is almost like the sort of common room. Everyone's in there, everyone's sort of catching up with what happened over the night or over the weekend and things. And Czech kind of came up to me and just quietly said, mate, just let you know you're not in the 23 this week. And I went from starting to out. And I was like, what? And I went to question him and he sort of walked off, and I sort of just brushed the ankle strapping and chased him outside and said, mate, what do you mean? Like I've gone from starting to out. And he goes, I just feel like you don't want to be out there.
Wow.
And I was like, well, you're fucking wrong. And then it's sort of starting, and some of the boys were sort of still arriving for training that day. And then we went into the sort of the foyer of the reception area of the Waratahs, and I kind of kept challenging as to why. I said, like if you drop me, you give me something to work on. But if you're just saying you feel like I don't want to be there, that's not really giving me anything tangible to go out there and work on. And then more people and staff are going in, and so we thought maybe we'd take this conversation outside. And it sounds worse than it is, but we went out to the car park. And again, it ended up sort of like a little bit of chest poking.
Really?
Nothing too bad, but just like, I was like, mate, you can't drop me on a hunch. And he's like, well, I'm the head coach, mate, I can. And I said, well, once he sort of dropped that, I sort of like, tail between the legs, and I'm like, okay.
Did it work though, him dropping you?
Yeah, I mean, I went in, sort of had my moment, went to the team meeting, and, then I just had to change my focus then to kind of helping the team prep. The very next week after that game, I was back to starting. But what I probably hadn't been willing to admit at the time was it was off the back of a Brumbies game, and I was actually sort of out there in the game sort of questioning, what am I doing out here kind of thing. So
he was right.
In a way he was right.
Funny.
But I think internally I didn't want to admit that, but he'd seen it. And, I guess also probably a little bit of embarrassment from going from starting to outside the 23. But yeah, I think moments like that and I think that probably helped with my relationship with Czech, that we had enough respect for each other that we could challenge each other and it just be left there, and I go on and I do my job, he does his job, and we were there to kind of help prepare the team moving forward. But I don't know, I mean, you'd have to ask Czech whether, he even remembers it for one, but that was one for me that I just thought, you know what, sometimes when someone's got as much experience as someone like Czech does, that you've got to just tip your hat and go, okay, and just wear it on the chin, and then sometimes maybe in the long run, those little moments, like you need to have those to check yourself. And I played 10 tests in 2005, my first season of Wallabies. I in 2006 didn't even make the 44-man squad. Didn't play a single test in 2006. So John Connolly sort of identified that, and and I was left out. So again, another moment that is hard to take in the moment. But then when you sat there and had a look in the mirror about how you were preparing and what I was doing to enhance my game, I probably deserved that at the time. So moments like that I think you need in your career, but I think in the moment sometimes they're very hard to accept.
How would a coach describe you as a player when they were coaching you? Does that make sense? What sort of player were you? Were you the most vocal? Were you the one leading the sprints? Were you the one?
Sprints maybe, not fitness. I mean, I can't speak for them. What I would hope for is that they see me as a team man. That I do have, I'm a communicator. And there are times, of course, we joke about it on the pod that perhaps I'm not probably the best trainer at times, but I'll always do what I needed to do for the team. I don't know. I mean, hopefully I just, I add something to the culture of the group but again, that's not for me to decide.
Highest IQ in a player that you played with, like smartest rugby player that you played with?
Yeah, I mean, Gitz would be up there. Stephen Larkin would be up there. Just the way they saw the game, the areas of the field we needed to be in, but also how do we get into those areas? Also how to get the best out of the players around them. But through the course of the years that I played, the game changed a lot. You had big midfielders, you had one smaller one. You're just knowing what each player brings to that particular team and how to get the best out of that. I think those two players were probably the best at it.
Dumbest? The player where you were like, come on, man, we're telling you this every week.
Yeah, I don't want to coin the term dumb, but there are definitely some players out there that we do play for 6 months and then they get their shot and go, what's my role here? Like,
plenty of those.
Yeah, I won't say it because we want him on the pod.
Oh, right. Yeah, fair enough.
Basically, in a team meeting, when someone asks me a question, most of the team would start just going, but you'll have to tune into upcoming episodes to when he comes onto the pod.
All right, 2 more. Let's finish this. Let's go straightest off the field, as in, wouldn't go and celebrate, would be the first in the gym.
Oh, David Pocock.
Pocock.
Yeah. Poey was just like the ultimate sort of professional. And he's just not your drinking type. He found his relaxation and balance in other ways. He wouldn't press it on anyone. He'd love to sort of sit down and talk about Gandhi and Desmond Tutu and life and things. And he'd be more than willing to open up in a conversation about those types of things. And obviously he's got his political views and all that sort of thing. But there were times where myself and Gitz, if we were rooming together, we'd bring him in and just actually sit there and try and engage in those conversations. He would never force it on you, but at the same time, that's just how he went about his preparation and his life. And I think I've said it many a time. I think Poey almost makes you feel like a lesser of a bloke because he's just so good. Like there's just nothing bad you can say about Poey.
So future PM.
I think he could be.
Yeah, right. Wow,
I mean, he's just one of those guys. He's an inspiring guy. He's staunch in his values and his beliefs, but he doesn't press them on you. If you're interested in talking about it, he'll sit down and talk about it, to the nth degree. And the one thing he does do is he educates himself about different things as well. Doesn't just fly off the cuff with an opinion. So yeah, I mean, in terms of off the field, who was the straightest, I'd say Poey.
Let's go the reverse to finish. Let's go the loosest. Where was the party at where you could always find it?
Oh, Uncle Ming, Jeremy Paul. He's definitely up there. Later in my career, Stefan Armitage. He's an English back row I played with in Toulon. And his brother Dylan Armitage. Both great blokes and also a lot of fun. Castro Giovanni. He was always a lot of fun. Actually, probably most of the Toulon team. We had some good years there. Who else was there? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'd just be. Cameron Shepherd was fun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, over at the Western Force days when he wasn't crashing his car.
And I'm assuming, well, from what I've seen in my short time with you guys, I'm assuming you and Swoop were in that list from.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
look, it's one of those great things that rugby give you, and certainly we're very grateful to have the opportunity to travel the world with your best mates,
Yeah.
and get access to really amazing life experiences, core memories, and sometimes we eliminate those core memories by drinking too much, but that was also part of it. I mean, it's you're traveling so much, you're living in each other's company, you're sharing rooms, you're on trains, you're on buses, you're on planes. You just get to experience a lot, and you get to know each other a lot as well, because whilst you're doing all those things, you're still doing life, and there's relationships, and there's money troubles, and there's all sorts of different things that everyone goes through, but it's just on I guess in a different scenario. But yeah, I mean, some bloody fun times, mate.
Very good. All right. Hey, Drew, that was the extra content for a Friday night for everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Any parting words, Drew, for our audience?
No, just tune in. I think upcoming ones will be with Swoop.
Swoop, maybe
I'll
can sit down with
Swoop, yeah.
And then I can. We'll rotate.
We'll also we'll turn around onto you as well.
Yeah.
You've done, all your broadcasting career and all
things.
your. I'd love to know some of the arseholes you've worked with.
There's plenty. That'll be a long episode. Okay. All right. We'll catch you soon. Bye. Give us one. KOKO!
G'day, please, if you like the show, well, show us you liked it by pressing like and subscribe so we can exist, because we don't have any more money. We need your support. And make sure you check out our other videos.